It's still a disappointment for my lucky son, but at least he's rich now. My uncle leaned in and whispered, "Luxury gifts don't make up for being a loser." I stood up, grabbed the tickets and walked out. This morning he called me 67 times. Then his boss called. I drove for 6 hours, without a single pit stop, the road stretching out in front of me like a ribbon of pity and determination. I could already see the scene in front of me walking through the door, handing him the envelope, and the Golden Boss tickets inside sparkling like a promise I was going to keep. The Lakers finals was his life's dream, a wish he thought would never come true. This was my moment to pay it forward. I walked into the house and the first thing that hit me was the smell of steak and baked potatoes. My parents were already sitting at the table, and my younger brother, always the golden child, was finishing his drink. I could already feel the tension in the air. I put the envelope on the table, its metallic shine glistening in the low light. "Open it," I said, trying to keep a smile on my face. He stopped. I could see the hesitation in his eyes. Then, slowly, as if he could not believe what he was seeing, he opened the envelope. And the moment it hit him, I swear, time slowed down. His eyes opened wide, his mouth dropped open. He blinked several times before muttering, "This can't be happening," and then louder for everyone to hear, "In court?" The room seemed to hum with excitement, as if the air had suddenly become thicker. My brother slapped me on the back, and my mother looked at the tickets with wide eyes. My cousin, always the skeptic, asked, "Are they real?" I nodded, allowing myself to feel for a split second that I had finally done something right. But then a toast was made. He raised his glass, still holding the tickets, with a goofy grin on his face. "To my son," he began, his voice thick with something I couldn't understand. "Still a disappointment, but at least he's rich now." The room filled with laughter. But it wasn't warm. It was cruel. My cousin sniffed the wine through his nose. My uncle chuckled softly, his words barely audible, but I caught them. "Luxurious gifts do not compensate for being a loser." I froze. Something clicked inside me. I looked around the table, but no one seemed to notice, no one but me. My mom, who always tried to smooth things over, just stared at her plate. She didn't even flinch. I didn't say anything. Not a single word. I stood up, my chair squeaking on the floor, the sound louder than I would have liked. I reached across the table and took the envelope from his hand, and his smile faltered. "What are you doing?" he asked, a hint of panic in his voice. "You got it," I said in a tense voice. "Consider the gift withdrawn." And I left. I left, shaking, but calm. The world outside seemed different. My chest tightened with every step, but my resolve only grew stronger. I got into my car and drove off into the night, my headlights cutting through the darkness, my heart heavy but firmly locked. The next morning I woke up to 67 missed calls. Then an unfamiliar number flashed on my phone. "Hello?" I answered, expecting some kind of apology or explanation. "This is Mr. Lambert," said the voice on the other end of the line. "I'm your father's boss. We need to talk. I wasn't always rich. I wasn't even close to it. 3 years ago, I was barely making ends meet in a dirty apartment above a laundromat, eating instant ramen 5 days a week. I juggled 3 part-time jobs to keep the lights on. No family ties. No startup capital. Just me, my laptop, and a mountain of doubt to climb. But I climbed it. The world told me I couldn't do it, that I wasn't cut out for this kind of life. My father was one of those voices. "You always give up too soon," he said after I dropped out of college. He didn't know about the panic attacks that kept me awake, the crushing burden of debt, the constant fear that I would fail again. He just saw me as weak. He always thought so. But I kept working hard. My brother, Caleb, was the perfect son. He had a university degree, a stable job, and a happy family. He was someone to be proud of. And I was a failure. A disappointment. I started my own business, a small consulting firm, and at first I didn't tell anyone about it. What was the point? I already knew how the conversation would go. "Oh, you're a CEO now, right? And what's next? A lemonade stand?" Month after month, my agency grew, slowly, painfully. I made every possible mistake, but I was learning. I was in a hurry. I made sacrifices. Finally, it started to work. Clients I could only dream of. Contracts. Business deals. And with every success, I felt like they were watching me, waiting for me to fail. When did my father first realize this? "It looks like you finally figured out how not to screw up," he said, laughing as if it were some kind of joke. But it wasn't a joke. "Last year I paid off their mortgage without any problems. I just transferred the money, told my mom to check the balance. She started crying. My dad said, 'Well, that's the least you could do.' It was not enough. It would never be enough. And I would never get the respect I thought I was fighting for. Not from him, not from anyone. When I was growing up, my father didn't beat me, he humiliated me. And he didn't need to raise his voice to break you. He did it with a smile. In his own words. You're lucky. And then there was Uncle Tony. Always the worst. A man who couldn't hold down a job for more than a year, who spent more time drunk in the garage than I did in middle school. But because he was my father's brother, he was always respected, always invited, always seen. And here I am, standing in front of everything I thought I had worked for. The tickets. The moment that was supposed to show him that I had succeeded. The moment when I would finally be able to feel that I had been noticed. But in the end, it wasn't about him. It was about me. It was about me finding my own value, even if they didn't see it. I came out and realized for the first time that I didn't need his approval. I didn't need his approval anymore. The next morning I woke up with 67 missed calls. A few texts from my mom. And then a call from his boss. We need to talk. I was done for. I could still hear my dad's laughter echoing in my head. Are you sure you didn't fool anyone? He taunted, still giggling as if he had solved the joke of the century. He probably made a slideshow about feelings and charged $10,000 for it, he added with a smile. They never asked me what I actually do. They never asked who my clients were. They never asked how I got here. But they knew one thing, money. And they never stopped asking. Always the same requests. Can you give me a ride to get my car fixed? Your cousin needs help with his studies. We're a little short on the house taxes this month. Just this once. It was always connected to guilt. Always with the same hackneyed phrase, family helps family. But you know what? Except when I needed help. I had to pawn my guitar to pay the rent. And did anyone call? No. My messages went unanswered. My cries were ignored. When I skipped meals to pay off my student loans, my father called me dramatic. Dramatic. When I burst into tears in the garage on Christmas Day, doubting that I was just a failure, he came in, looked at me, and said, "Pull yourself together. No one likes a sob story." And now what? Now I am a walking ATM. A bank with a face, successful enough to be tolerated. But you know what? I still believed. Stupidly. I thought that maybe, just maybe, I had earned his respect. That after all these years, this would be the moment. So I bought Lakers tickets. $8,000. Front row. For him. I remembered old photos of him in his school uniform, the stories he told me about sneaking in with the radio under the covers to listen to the finals. It was a dream back then, something only real men could do. And so I, a real man, was able to give him this. The only thing I thought could make him look at me differently. But all I got was the climax. It's still a disappointment, but at least he's rich now. This phrase hit me harder than all the insults I had swallowed in 30 years. It was like a match lit inside me, burning away the last shreds of hope I had for us. And then came the moment that decided everything. I took the tickets back, and when I walked out, no one said a word. Not my mom. Not Todd. Not a single person blinked, as if it was just normal. Like I was the only one who had overreacted. But I knew the truth. This morning my phone rang. 67 missed calls from my father. 5 from my mom. 12 from Todd. Then a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. I listened to it. "This is Mr. Lambert," the voice said, smooth and practiced. "Your father's supervisor at Westfield Automotive. He asked me to speak to you urgently." At first I thought it was a joke. Who would my father's boss call about Lakers tickets? But his tone was quite businesslike, his words carefully chosen. "Your father had a rough morning," he said. "He came to work extremely upset. He mentioned some family problem, but refused to go into details. He asked me to mediate." Mediate? I almost laughed. And where did that lead? Did he send his boss to settle the conflict? There was a pause, then Mr. Lambert continued, "He's too embarrassed to call you directly. He says he screwed up." I hung up the phone, my mind reeling. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was my mom. "Your father was up all night," she said before I could even say hello. Her voice was shaking, almost frantic. "He was crying. He says you're going to ruin his life." Ruin his life? How? I asked, genuinely confused. "Because you didn't let him insult you and take your tickets," she whispered. "Because you threatened to tell the public about it." It was like a slap in the face. He wasn't ashamed to hurt me. He was afraid of being exposed. He was afraid that I would finally stand up and show the world who he really is. Then I made a decision. I took the keys, got in the car and drove straight to his workplace. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't care what happened next. I wanted him to see my face when I said the words I had been holding back for years. I walked into the Westfield Automotive dealership like a man walking into a fire. The receptionist looked up at me, terrified. "I'm here to see Bill." Her eyes darted toward the office. "He's with someone." "Not anymore," I interrupted, pushing past her before she could finish. I pushed open the door, and there he was. My father. He was sitting at the table, pale and hunched over, his hand shaking as he held a cup of coffee. He looked at me as if I were a ghost. "Jesus, you came," he muttered, his voice cracking. I slammed the door behind me as I stood in the doorway. "You called your boss," I said flatly. "I panicked," he replied, his voice shaking. "I thought maybe he could talk to you." "Talk to me about what? Return the tickets? Apologize for standing up for myself?" He sighed. "I didn't mean what I said, it was a joke. A bad joke." I was nervous and everyone was looking at me. I froze in place. "You've been practicing making me the butt of your jokes for 33 years, Dad. Don't act like this is something new." He looked away in silence. I leaned in, my voice steady now. "I gave you something priceless, and you turned it into a joke. And when I left, you didn't run after me. You just sat there. No fight, no apology." I felt my pulse quicken. "You never apologize. But you always know how to hurt." And then came the words I will never forget. "Do you think it makes you stronger when you leave? You are still that scared boy who couldn't throw a ball. Only now you're richer." I took a step forward, leaning over his desk. "No, I'm not rich. I'm the one who built something out of nothing while you sat in that chair and laughed at me. I'm the one who bought your house, paid off your debts, and gave you the night of your dreams. And I'm also the one who took it all back, because you never once acted like I mattered more to you than what I could give you." He opened his mouth to speak, but I held up my hand. "Don't twist it. You can't twist it anymore." Everything he said sounded rushed, his voice trembling with frustration, but it wasn't enough. I wasn't buying it anymore. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, the door opened. Mr. Lambert stood there looking so dejected, as if he had walked into a crime scene. "Is everything okay?" he asked, looking between us. I addressed him in a calm but deadly voice. "Mr. Lambert, I think you should know something about the man who runs this place." He blinked in confusion, but I wasn't finished. "He treats everyone around him like garbage unless he needs them. His son buys him a gift that would take most people years to get, and he drinks for it like it's a disappointment. He's lucky I'm not a journalist because he would be in the news right now." By the time I was done, he would have been the butt of jokes on the internet. My father jumped up from his chair, his hands shaking with rage. "Don't you dare embarrass me like that," he growled. I raised my hand to stop him. "You have disgraced yourself." The room fell silent. My eyes met his dead, unblinking eyes. "You want to be treated like a man? Then act like a man. You want my respect? Then earn it. But don't ever call me again to fix what you did. I've had enough." Without another word, I turned around and walked out. As I walked out into the hallway, I saw Mr. Lambert put his hand on my father's shoulder, muttering something I couldn't hear. "Let them explain it to themselves. Let them spin. Let the office gossip swirl." I got in the car, pulled out my phone, and blocked his number. Let the 67 missed calls remain missed. After that, I didn't answer a single call. Not to the missed ones. Not to voice messages. Not to the messages that went from "talk to us" to "you're acting like a child" to "we're family, like it or not." I turned off my phone for a week. No messages, no notifications. No poison disguised as care. And for the first time in my life, silence seemed like peace, not punishment. I no longer woke up with a pit in my stomach, wondering if today would be the day when my dad would finally say something nice. I didn't calculate how to earn the approval of people who built their entire identity on destroying me. I ate what I wanted. I got enough sleep. I went to the gym. I went to Santa Barbara for the weekend. No schedule. No expectations. No fake dinners. I was alone, but not lonely. On the 5th day, out of pure curiosity, I turned on my phone again. 73 missed calls. 41 from my father. 12 from my mom. 8 from Todd. The rest were unknown numbers. One was from Dad's work line. I listened to one voicemail. Just one. "Son, I know I fucked up. I know I've never been good at choosing words. And you know that. But I didn't mean it. You have to believe me. Don't let this be the end of us. Please call me. I'm so sorry." But I didn't call him back. I didn't need to. Because I realized something. He was not sorry for what he said. He was sorry that it finally had consequences. And the moment that really tore the mask off came 2 weeks later. My mom appeared at my door. I opened it half asleep, still wearing sweatpants and an old hoodie. She looked small, frail, holding a baking dish in her hands, as if she thought we were still playing a 1950s family. "Hi," she said quietly. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer her right away. I stepped aside and let her in, not out of guilt, but out of curiosity. She put her plate on the coffee table as if it were something sacred and flopped down on the couch. She didn't waste any time. "Your father is not the same," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't say anything. He doesn't eat, he doesn't go to work. Lambert says he's thinking about retiring early. I interrupted her. So now you're here because he's completely lost his mind and there's no one else to clean up after him? No, she answered too quickly. I'm here because you're his son. And when I bought him gifts and paid the mortgage, what did I become? His credit card. Her mouth opened and closed as if she didn't know the answer. I leaned back in my chair. You came to accuse me of guilt, not to understand. I came because I love you, she said, her voice softening. No, I said, straightening up. You came because you needed me. Or you were useful until the minute I set boundaries. The minute I stood up for myself, I became a villain. Her shoulders sagged. She wiped her eyes, but I wasn't done. I gave him everything, I said, raising my voice. Time, money, respect. And all he got in return was ridicule. And now that I'm gone, you want me to fix the damage he did? She looked at me as if I had betrayed her. Do you think it was easy for me? She suddenly hissed, her voice cracking. Living with that man? Watching him break you while I try to keep this family together? Oh, so now you're a silent martyr? I shot back. You sat at every dinner. You listened to every insult. You laughed at every cruel joke. And not once did you say, Bill, stop it. You can't play innocent anymore. There were tears in her eyes, but she didn't answer. I'm not here to defend him, she whispered in a small voice. I'm here to ask if there's a way back. No, I said firmly. A moment ago, there was a way forward. But it didn't include him pulling me back. She looked broken. And I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel free. But the real turning point came a week later. There was another knock at the door. I opened the door, still half awake from my sleep. And there he was. My father. His eyes were bloodshot, his face haggard, as if someone had squeezed out all the arrogance he wore like a second skin. He was silent for a moment, his shoulders slumped as if he didn't know how to begin. I lost the tickets, he said in a barely audible whisper. I blinked. What? He pulled out a crumpled envelope from his jacket, the tickets inside clearly frayed from being picked up too often. I kept them in a drawer. Even after you took them back. Some part of me thought that maybe if I said the right thing, you'd give them back, but I lost them. I don't care, I said, my voice cold. I know, he nodded. I didn't come for them. Then he said something I never thought I would hear. I was cruel to you, he muttered, looking at the ground. I thought that if I put pressure on you, if I mocked you, you would try harder. You would prove me wrong. I stared at him dumbfounded. Do you think this is love? No, he whispered. I think it was cowardice. He sank down on the step outside my door, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. I don't know how to fix it, he admitted. I don't even know if it can be fixed. But I want you to know that I see him now. I see you. And I hate that I had to lose you to get here. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an old, faded photograph. It was me, 9 years old, holding a basketball, smiling, with 2 missing teeth. I keep this photo in my wallet, he said, his voice breaking. I used to look at it and wonder what happened. Now I realize that it happened to me. I was silent. I didn't cry. I just looked at him for a long time and said, this boy deserved better. And I closed the door. A week after I closed the door on my father, the silence settled like dust in an empty house. No more calls. No more visits. No more guilt disguised as love. And yet I didn't miss them. I thought I would. I thought I would lie awake wondering if I was wrong. But it didn't happen. Not even once. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel broken. I felt like the only normal person who finally walked out of a burning building and let it collapse without running back in. My therapist? Yes, I finally went to her. During my first therapy session, she asked me a question that had been bothering me. Do you miss the father you had or the father you wish you had? I didn't have to think about it. The father I would like to have. Because the one I had, I said quietly, I never really knew. I only knew who I had to be to survive him. She nodded slowly. Then your grief is a rebirth. And so it was. The next few weeks were like a new start. No more family dinners, no more backhanded compliments, no more last-minute favors wrapped in guilt, no more waiting for silence in return. Instead, I invested everything in myself. Work, the gym, reading, recreation. I bought a piano, even though I barely knew how to play, and started practicing, stubbornly taking every note like a beginner who doesn't want to quit. I started going hiking on Sundays, alone. No Instagram, no photos, just me and the open sky, the dirt under my boots. I started writing again. Writing down every thought that I had been hiding under words for years. Maybe next time my dad will be proud of me. And then something strange happened. Todd called me. Of course, I sent him to voicemail. But curiosity got the better of me. Later that evening, I hung up the phone. Hey, listen. I don't know how to say this, but now I understand. About Dad. About everything. He paused. I heard what happened at his job. I heard about what you said. I think I should have stood up for you that night. The pause that followed was longer. He's not well, man. He doesn't say it, but my mom says he's not eating. He keeps looking at a picture of you as a child. He left Westfield last week. He just left. No plans. He didn't say goodbye. Another pause. This one was more painful than I expected. I guess I just want to say that you were right. I was blind, and I'm sorry. I deleted the message. Not out of anger, but out of peace. Todd could fight his own awakening. It was no longer my battle. But there was another thread, Uncle Tom. The one who whispered, luxury gifts don't make up for being a loser. The message came on Friday. 2 lines. Short and sharp. I didn't mean it like that. You know how I joke. Come down for the weekend. Your family is asking about you. I didn't answer. Instead, I took a screenshot, printed it out, folded it neatly, and put it in an envelope. On the back I wrote, luxurious apologies do not justify cowardice. Then I mailed it. No name, no return address. Just the truth, which he could not dismiss. A week later, I received an unexpected message not from either of them, but from a woman I didn't know. It was a group on LinkedIn. Hi, you don't know me, but I worked with your father. He always talked about you. Never in detail, but with a strange mixture of bitterness and admiration. I just wanted to tell you, what you did by getting your strength back is very important. People have noticed. I noticed. And you inspired me to finally cut ties with my own toxic family. So thank you. I looked at the message for a long time. Not because I needed confirmation, but because in that moment I realized something. I didn't just save myself. I lit a torch for someone else who was lost in the same darkness. And just as it happened, I felt relieved. It's a warm Saturday morning. I leave the coffee shop wearing sunglasses and a notebook in my hand. I go to a bookstore and buy a new diary. The barista hands me a piece of paper with his number on it. I smile but don't respond. I'm not in a hurry anymore. I'm not chasing approval. I am not acting. I just am. When I step out into the sunlight, I hear a small voice behind me, a boy, about 10 years old, holding his dad's hand, pointing to the billboard above us, an advertisement for the Lakers finals. Dad, look. We'll go there someday, right? The father smiles and ruffles his son's hair. Someday. Yes, I'll take us there. I stop, my throat tightens for a second, not from pain, but from something else. I no longer envy this boy. Because I became what he wanted his father to be. And this man is no longer desperately trying to take someone else's place at the table. He has taken his own. Last thought. Moral, I am no longer angry. I am not waiting for an apology that will never come. I am not haunted by the words still disappointed because I know who I am. And I know who I am not. I am not your scapegoat. I am not your bank. I am not your punching bag. I am not your son if it means being your victim. I am my own boss. And I am finally free.